Switching off my mic. We are live. Rithwik.
Okay.
Hey guys, are we live?
Yes, we are live. We are live. Guys, just wait a moment. We'll be starting shortly.
Hey guys, are we? So, hello everyone. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. So, just enter which place you have joined from, anywhere in the world, and we'll also be sending the form link, the answer form link, again in the chat section.
So, guys, I'm from Pune. So, cool. So, Prajwal is from Bengaluru. And Raghav is from Delhi. That's nice. So, that's cool. That's cool. So, our basically VIT QSOC or Cuisine Society was founded in Pune. So, that's really cool that we are getting participants from Bengaluru and Delhi. So, guys, you can put, like others can also put, where are they from?
Yeah, the quiz master is facing some technical issues. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. So, thanks for being patient.
Seems like a lot of people from Bengaluru are here. Wow.
Yeah, so we are good to go. Rithwik here will take over. So before starting off, I'll introduce Rithwik a bit. So he's an alumnus of NITK, NIT Suratkal, and we are delighted to have him here as our quiz master for today. So yeah, over to you, Rithwik.
Hey everyone. I'm Rithwik Rao, your quiz master for today. And the name of the quiz today is not at your wits' end because it's obviously a pun. So basically, it's meant to say that all the answers to all these questions are not at your wits' end. They're basically very workoutable questions. And yeah, I think we're good to go with the quiz. Naman?
Yes, yes, we
Hello.
can. We are good to go. We are good to go.
Okay. Okay.
Rithwik.
So yeah, we will start the quiz right away. So this is going to be a written quiz. Before that, special thanks to QSOC VIT Pune, who have been really helpful in organizing this event, even streaming the event live on YouTube, and also to Naman Jain, who was also a guinea pig and point of contact making this successful. Also, special credits to my friends Harshit Kumar and Vijay Chhatre, who also guinea picked the set. Okay, and we will now go to the rules. So there are going to be, so this is basically a written quiz of 25 questions. You can score a total of 250 points. Partial points can be scored wherever applicable. So there are a few questions where there are two parts, and you can score 5 and 5. So if you get one part, you will score 5. If you get both the parts, you'll score 10, and no negatives. Every 5 questions has a common theme. So basically, the first 5 questions will be related to a theme. The theme will be revealed to all of you, and then we'll move on with the questions. So every 5 questions will have a common theme. So therefore, because 25 questions, 25 by 5, so 5 themed rounds in total. So all answers to be written in a Google form whose link will be provided to you. And please do not put up answers on the chat or on the comment section. Even if your audience, keep your answers to yourselves. Once all the answer sheets have been submitted, we will ask audience members and participants to put up answers on the chat. But please do not put answers on the chat until I say so. Don't be evil. Don't Google. There are few Google traps here and there. So don't think of even Googling, because we will catch you. And lastly, I am the quiz master. I am the god, and I am the one who knocks. Okay. Is the Google form provided, like the link provided on the chat?
Yes, yes, I have provided the answer sheet on chat.
Okay. Okay. So we're good to go. So the first round of 5 questions will be related to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. So it is not necessarily just about the travel aspects of these heritage sites. It can be scientific aspects or even pop culture aspects related to these World Heritage Sites, right? So we will move with the first question. All the best to all of you. Question number 1 coming up. So, what I'll show you in the next two slides, is of a fictional location from the world of Game of Thrones, which makes regular appearances in the fifth and the sixth season of the show. The establishment housed skinned faces on its walls, and according to the production designer, the aesthetics of the capsules made out of the walls containing the faces were inspired by photos clicked at a UNESCO World Heritage Site closer to our home. Tourists often refer to this site as a part of a duo, with the other of the duo located just 100 kilometers away and being a similar type of UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. The site which provided inspiration for this set design is alphabetically the second one in the aforementioned duo. So, by closer to our home, I mean it is somewhere in India. So you need to tell me which site closer back to home provided the inspiration behind the aesthetics of this fictional site. So there are images. So this is the fictional location. Take a careful look at the pic and try guessing which UNESCO World Heritage Site provided the inspiration for this. There's another image, and this is the first question for for a quiz in VIT Pune. So that should help you narrow down the answer. So, which UNESCO World Heritage Site could it be? It's part of a duo, and it is alphabetically the second one in the duo. So, which one could it be? Shall we move on to the next one? Okay, moving on to the next one. So, several scientists have pointed out that the following chemical reactions are the reason for it is taking place at one particular place, but it is observed by people worldwide. So, it started with these atmospheric oxidation processes. First is oxidation of copper. It forms some copper oxides, and then the abundance of seawater in the vicinity and the rise of sulfur levels in the atmosphere gave rise to the following green and blue hydrated salts. So there are three reactions, where copper oxides are reacting with the carbon dioxide and also some sulfur oxides to give some green and blue hydrated salts. So what was the world famous result of these chemical reactions? I don't just need I need a kind of explanation where probably two, three extra words along with the UNESCO World Heritage Site. So throughout this round, it might be answers where you might not know that they are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but they're nevertheless famous places. So even if you don't know, if an answer comes up in your mind, and if you don't know that it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, it can be one. But in this particular question, I need two extra words along with. So see what is happening. That should help you a lot. Moving on, question number 3. So, Gothic architecture was considered as a dislike of this particular country for a long time, and due to the insurge of patriotism in the end of 18th century and the start of 19th century. One example of such architecture in this country was used more as a battle arsenal rather than the purpose it was supposed to serve. However, major renovation projects were started from the 1830s to return it back to its original glory, thanks to the vast architectural descriptions of it in an 1830 source, making the natives realize its inner beauty even under bad conditions. So, two parts here. What sizzling example of Gothic architecture are we talking about? And take a hunch as to what caused the major renovation projects of it to be kick-started in the so the source is from 1830, but few years later it started to be renovated. So two parts here, and of course the first part is the one that fits into the theme. So a lot of helpful clues scattered around the question. Could With the description you could narrow down the geographical region and you know resort to one particular place and something related to it. So two parts here. If so, there is only one blank in the form per question. Just write it one after the other using a comma, using a comma separator, and a few subtle clues in the question as well to help you in figuring out the answer. Shall we move on? Question number 4. So, this marathon race is held in late February or early March every year for the extreme from across the world. So, people across the world come, and this is an extreme marathon that is held in late February or early March, and it covers a distance of about 40 kilometers in total. So, the recommended dress code for the marathon includes a balaclava, face tape, goggles or glasses, windproof jackets, and pants and thick gloves. Before every edition of the marathon, drilling machines are used to estimate if the marathon can be held as planned. Some of the participants even mention that the sounds they hear during the run motivate them to run twice as faster. So, what is the venue of this marathon, which could easily be one of the biggest UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the world? So, see that it is extreme even though in late February or early March. See the kind of things. The second paragraph in particular, there are a lot of clues. There, see the dress code that they're wearing for participating in this. Yeah, and drilling machines are used to estimate if the marathon can be held as planned. So, in your answer, along with the name of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, I need probably one adjective to describe it. For example, if I say the UNESCO World Heritage Site is Taj Mahal, so something like bleached Taj Mahal. So something that describes this UNESCO World Heritage Site at that particular time.
Hello,
By
Ritvik.
time, yeah.
Can you see that comments?
No, I cannot. I can't. Okay, now I can. Uh, Hint for this one. Okay. So one of the biggest UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and you could say it's. You could have seen the name of this UNESCO World Heritage Site in your geography textbooks, probably middle school or high school, because it has a certain, global record. So global record, it holds a certain global record, and probably you could have. So second paragraph in particular is important. So I'll wait on this question for 30 more seconds. I think it is a little difficult compared to the others. Okay. Moving on to question number 5. So, unknown to many, this isolated place, which is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, had been transformed into a natural reserve by the late 1950s. So, a particular freelance writer even wrote stories about it being transformed into a natural reserve by his father, who was a Navy officer. Lot of animals like tortoises, ducks, geese, springboks, bonteboks, leopards, etc., were brought here by his father using a navy ship. The place only became recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in late 1990s after it was deemed to be no longer usable for its actual intended purpose and also because of its natural historical importance. So two parts here. Don't get confused. So this might be a little confusing. There's supposed to be a slash after about. So which place am I talking about? Or you can tell what was its claim to fame. Either one would do for first part. Second part, what apt nickname did the author give to the aforementioned ship? So so yeah, there is an image in the next slide, which is a lateral clue. So this is the image. So this is considered as one of the best saves in the 21st century in football. So probably where this happened should also help with the first part. But more importantly, whoever I blanked in this image should be more important for you to fetch the first part in this question. And the second part, just see what is happening. First part also, see that it became a World Heritage Site in the late 1990s, no longer usable for its, and it had a national historical importance. Once you figure out which region this is in the world, should not be that difficult. But second part, nothing to do with the region or anything. Just pick out something from the second paragraph and try figuring out what was this apt nickname that the author gave to this ship that his father used to ride to transport animals. Okay, shall we move on? One sec. Okay, so for this question, basically this is one of the best. Since someone asked to repeat the hints, this is one of the best saves in the century, and wherever this happened, wherever the save happened should help you. But more importantly, whoever is blanked out in the image should help you with the first part. And second, and see that it is, part of, it is important in the country's history, in this particular country's history. Second part, what app nickname, just see what is happening, right? So that should help you with what was the app nickname that the author gave. So this is a lateral clue. It's not a direct clue to fetch you the first part, right? Picture is related because of the place and also indirectly to who I've blanked out here. But if you can't figure out any clues from the picture, you can also get it from the text itself. So not that the image is very necessary, but it's an additional hint. So I think I'll move on. I've spent enough time on this question. We'll be cycling back anyway. So this finishes the first themed round that is related to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Now we go on to the second round, which is Rang De Basanti. So here, what happens is every question will have an answer that will contain, colors. So it will be related to colors basically, and the it can be in the answers or it can be in the questions, but I will say where it is going to be related. All right, so yeah, we'll move on. So every remember that every answer contains a color, right? So moving on for the first part, and even if you don't find a relation to a color, please make sure that there will be some relation to a color. So try expanding your answer, sorry, your mind, so that you get that color connect, right? So I'll move on with the first question of this round. So back in the 1970s and 80s, young children in a certain Far East nation commonly cited and read stories about these two fictional characters in their textbooks. Both the characters had an illustration on the cover of the textbooks. Both of the pair were best friends and would enact embarrassing childhood moments. Thus, many have compared this pair to a pair from the West who have been familiar to us since childhood. The illustration of the girl turned out to be the inspiration behind some aspects of the look of an unintentional social media sensation that rose to fame sometime in the second half of this year. So, two parts here. Which pair from the West is commonly compared with this pair? And the looks of what were inspired by the illustration of the girl. So, I'll spend a few seconds on the text and then we can move on. Okay. So, this is the image. So, these were compared to a pair from the West. And the illustration of the girl inspired something that became an unintentional social media sensation, and it came sometime in the second half of this year. So two parts here. Which pair from the Western world is commonly compared with this pair, and the look of what were inspired by the illustration of the girl. So I'll wait on this for like 20 more seconds and then move on to the next one. Okay, moving on. Question number 7. So M. Mishra is an Indian classical singer. His most famous work is seemingly one that contains only two extremely familiar lines that talks about learning to travel in the path of love. A lot of people became fans of this short musical piece because of the creative context in which it was used for. People later discovered that there is actually no full version of the song because only the two lines were specifically used for the aforementioned context in the first place. Some even found it ironic that it was not a full fledged song, considering the fact that the context it was used for was related to to certain music associated entities, but rather sneakily. So, okay, oops, I did a mistake there, but no issues. What was Mishra's arguably most famous work used for? Hints for this one. So see that it was used in a creative context. Answer should be something related to colors, obviously, that should help. And it is Indian classical singer. So it's an Indian classical piece. Learning to travel in the path of love. Something that has been very creative. People have people would have praised its creative context. So what could it be? So there are only two lines, but people thought there was a full-fledged version, but they were disappointed that. But the piece itself is not famous. Also, along with it, the creative context also became very famous. So what am I talking about? Okay, I think I'll move on to the next one. Question number 8. So the Yellow Fleet consisted of 15 ships and sailors from 7 European countries and the USA. Because of a certain happening this year that lasted about a whole week, media houses around the world recounted the last time it happened, the victims of which were the Yellow Fleet in the late 1960s and the early 70s. In this case, it lasted for 8 whole years. They got their name because of a visible change that was a consequence of their long duration stay at the concerned location. So, two parts: what were the Yellow Fleet the victims of, and why were they called so, and what caused it. So, first part is only what were they the victims of. But second part, you need to explain why were they called so, and what caused the reason of why were they called so. So, I need both parts in the second part, and this is a helpful image. So, these are some members of the Yellow Fleet, but by the way, guys, please don't put up your answers on the chat. Some of them. Okay, I'll stay on this for like 10 seconds and move on to the next one. Okay, moving on. Question number 9. So, SpaceX Crew Dragon Endeavour was a spacecraft that was at the top of the Falcon 9 rocket, which was launched in the middle of last year. So, the mission was the first manned mission by SpaceX and was also the first manned American mission after the last flights of the NASA space shuttles. So all this is not that important. I've just given you a context. Second paragraph is more important, where I say that as the two astronauts prepared to board the spacecraft, they played a playlist among which one was considered literally apt. This was apt because it made a reference to Americans returning to the darkness of space in style, similar to the return of the artist or the artists with this hit, whichever song this is. So, which electric song was aptly played just before the launch of the spacecraft? It's a lot of hints in the second paragraph, and something should also help you. So the image in this eighth question should help you for the second part, not the first part. And yeah, there'll definitely be a rerun. So as for hints for this question, I just focus on the words. I mean, I've uh, I've said it's an electric song. Don't take it in literal context, but you know it should help you with something. And see that they had to come back to the darkness of space in style, similar to how the artist. Yes, there is some color connect. So any answer. So by the way, question number 8, the color connect is in the question itself. So you don't need to worry about anything related to the answers. But every other question in this round has something to do with the answers. Right. I think I'll move on to the next one. Question number 10. So there's a particular sandstone pit, and it is very close to the east coast of US, but it is not on it, and was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2007. It has been morphed into a county park today. So the first recorded use of it was in the end of 17th century for local churches and tombstones. However, one century later, it was bought by a French American, and as a consequence of the purchase, much of its resources was consumed to accomplish an important mission at a location 40 kilometers north of this place. So, what was the pit? consumed for in the end of 18th century. So timeline should be very important, and also see where it is located. French American is not that important. I've just, just to remove the Googleable part of it, I've just kept it there. Not, maybe not remove, but yeah. So wherever this place is, 40 kilometers north of this place, they wanted to do something. That's why the pit was consumed in the end of 18th century. So the answer obviously has a color connect in this question. What could it be? Hint, just think about it, where it is located, you know, where this could be located. It is close to the east coast, but it is not on it. And the timeline should be very important. End of 18th century, end of 17th century, it was just used for building churches and all that. But end of 18th century, used for something else. Okay. Answer has a color connect, of course. French American is not really okay. I think I'll move on to the next one. I've spent enough time on this. So the next round is cold is gold. Unfortunately, I have a bad cold, but yeah, here we go. So all questions, sorry, all answers or questions in this round will be related to, winter or places or things, or people who are related to cold as such. So yeah, so all the questions are most of the questions are pretty short, just like the days in the winter. So I will move on to the first question. Yeah, you can block hints, but it is up to me if I have to give hints or not. So, question number 11. So, in the 2010 Winter Olympics, a German luger finished second in one event of the sport. However, he encountered a dental problem while celebrating his result post his race. This had to be fixed by his mother back home, who was a dentist by profession. So, in what unusual way did he get this problem? So, the theme fits into the question itself, so nothing related to the answer, but see what is happening, and that should help you. Seems like a very seems like a vague question, but seems like a vague question, but it's not vague, and probably the facts that are provided in this question are enough. So, it was a dental problem, Winter Olympics. He finished second and he was celebrating that result. So how did he get this problem? Moving on, because this is a short one. So question number 12. Like several other national post services, Canada Mail has a particular system of rules associated with assigning postal codes to area, which are alphanumeric of the format A1, A1, A1. So basically, it can be A1, B2, C3 as well, or yeah, something like that. So all the postal codes in Canada are like that, in that format. And there is one special postal code, however, which breaks this system of rules. The postal code is an alternative arrangement of an alphabet and a number, despite the fact that the first number in this case means that it's in a rural area, and that the first alphabet could mean that it's in a locality in Canada's second biggest city, Montreal. So the recipients of such letters addressed to this postal code are the employees of Canada Mail themselves. So the practice was started to not have much of undelivered stock during the winters, and also to respect the sentiments of the senders by replying. So the first part, which actually both parts you could say in a way connects to the theme, in particularly the first part. So what is special about the letters addressed to this postal code? That's the first part. And second part, what is the apt numerically stylized postal code? So try figuring out what the first part could be. Once you get that, try being a little creative and see what could fit, right? So my bad. So all the formats are A1, A1, A1. It's not A1, B2, C3. So that should help you with the answer. So first part, just look at what look at the last few sentences, I would say, of the second paragraph. That is the most important one. And once you figure out the first part, see what is the format. See the format and try coming up. So numerically stylized, as in say that say that the word seven, instead of v there is a seven there, right? So something like that, but in this format, right? So they're trying to say something, but okay, I think I'll move on to the next one, question number 13. So there's an image that I'll be showing, and these people of belong to a certain tribe and are observed to be residing in parts of a certain area of dispute in India. One particular word of the language of this tribe is Quechua, which refers to an entity that only some people of this tribe can possibly see in their daily lives. And it is also named after a Britisher whose surname is a portmanteau, that means a combination of his father's and mother's surnames. So, what is this entity that I'm talking about? So, there are pictures in this. This is the tribe. So, something should help probably in these images. But I think the text helps more. I think this is not a hard one to crack, so I won't be giving clues for this one. But just look at what is there in the text and can try figuring out what the answer could be. Okay, I'll be moving on to the next one. Question number 14. So, about 200 miles northwest of Stockholm lies a Swedish resort town. McDonald's planned to open up a branch here in 1996, but due to the sparse accessibility of the resort through usual transport, they thought it would be a better idea to place the restaurant inside the resort itself. So the restaurant now operates pretty much like every McDonald's restaurant around the world, except for one important feature that supports a facility of the resort itself. So, what is the singular unique difference of this branch of McDonald's? So, yeah, it is not accessible through usual transport. So, that should help you with which feature you should target. And there is a change there is a change to this feature where it supports a facility of the resort itself. So, what could this unique difference be? So, this is probably the only McDonald's restaurant which has this feature, and it is a modification of one of its famous features, right? And see what is the situation here. That should help you with what the answer could be. I'll wait on this question for 20 more seconds and then move on to the next one. Okay, moving on. Question number 15. So, the last one in this particular round. So, an opera house in Chicago keeps reusing some amounts of a mixture of wax and white plastic as a prop for some of their productions. So, large amounts of this mixture were donated to the opera house about 3 decades ago after it was no longer usable for its original intended purpose. So, what was the mixture's original intended purpose? The evidence of which becomes popular every winter, or you could say the context where it was used becomes popular every winter, right? So, see that it's an opera house and in Chicago, so they wanted they wanted a mixture of wax and white plastic as a prop, and the round is related to cold or winter. So think of what this prop could be. Don't overthink of what this prop could be, but it used to be used for a context 3 decades ago in Chicago itself. And once whatever that context got over, so the work after the work was done, they could no longer use it. So they donated to this opera house in Chicago, and whatever context it was used for, it became so the evidence of it. So basically, the context becomes popular every winter, right? So like there are you know what I'm expecting is what was this prop that makes use of mixture of wax and white plastic. But along with that, what was the context that it was used for? 3 decades ago in Chicago itself. About 3 decades ago, not exactly 3 decades ago. Yeah, so the context is related to something in Chicago itself. And this thing would have been the context is something that we might have first seen as kids, as an extra hint. But I need the prop was used for and what context was it used for? What prop did they make out of this, mixture of wax and white plastic? So okay, I'll move on to the next round. So the next round is related to Mythbusters, question 16 to 20. So basically, there is a popular American TV show called the Mythbusters, where they bust common myths or some crazy myths that are sent by sent by their fans. So it could be common myths or something from the world of pop culture, or you know for example, they tried testing, does bull actually get angry by seeing the color red? Or they also tried testing a crazy myth, like if you switch on a water geyser for a long period of time, will it shoot through 2 floors of of any house? So these are the kind of myths that they test usually, right? So I'll move on to the first question. So this is probably the toughest round in this quiz, but I think with some thinking you could crack all the answers in this round. So question number 16. So in an episode of the Mythbusters, Adam and Jamie look back to a statement in an old newspaper article about a historic event made by a NASA scientist and a founding member of the National Hydrogen Association. So the statement said that hydrogen was not responsible for the quick catastrophe, but rather the coatings of aluminium and iron oxide on this cotton skin, where cotton skin like could have formed the volatile thermite in those conditions. Thus, the pair decided to test two scaled models, one with just the coatings and another with both coatings and hydrogen. The latter one took much lesser time for this process of sorts to get completed, thus proving that the theory was proven false or busted. So the theory behind the cause of which event was tested here. So there are two very helpful images. One is this. So they're basically building the scaled models, right? And this is just this is all just in process. It's not been fully completed, but it should help with the answer that I'm looking for. So I'll go back to the text for a while and then we can move on. Also, you can just comment down if the pace is fine or if I have to slow down or pick up the pace. You can put it in the chat. So these are see the description what is happening and the images should probably help. So there was one particular theory where it said that only hydrogen was not responsible. It could have been the coatings of aluminium and iron oxide, which could have, you know, led to formation of thermite, and they just tested it using scaled models and found out that it was only because of hydrogen and not because of the coatings. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, pick up. Okay. So, in an episode, Adam and Jamie test a particular famous escape plan from the Alcatraz Island prison. So, they saw if the three convicts had any chances of surviving the plan, as there was no news from them post the attempt. So, for this, everything had to be done precisely like the facts mentioned in the FBI case files, which included the innovative use of a certain entity. This entity was first used by the inmates to mask the noise from the guards when working towards the escape involved a lot of noise. So the guards would not find the entity's use strange because of it being a common hobby among inmates. The same entity was then used in a modified way to pump air into a raft made by the convicts out of the prisoners' raincoats. So the escape plan turned out to be plausible by Adam and Jamie. So what is the entity in question? So see that they while they were working, there was a lot of noise, and to hide that noise, they had to use something that was that was a common hobby among inmates. So that should narrow down to what kind of entity that could be, and they literally modified it and pumped air using hand. Okay, using the hand, they pumped air into the a raft, and they escaped apparently. Regarding question number 16, it was not the exact scale model. It has been basically I will just say that it's not the same size of whatever you saw. So in this question, think this is probably a bit tough. So think of what kind of entity they could use to mask noise. It is also a common hobby. So people, guards wouldn't think that okay, this is odd, and then they use by pumping air by hand into the raft. Okay. Question number 18. So, this episode of the Mythbusters was to test the plausibility of certain fictional entities seen by many of us over the last 2.5 decades or so. Before the test was put into action, some prerequisites such as measurement processes, like the ones that I show in the next slides, were necessary to make the real life versions of these entities. So, Adam and Jamie then had several exercises that involved. One of them repeat the words of the other just before the test, basically to learn their speaking mannerisms. So, the plausibility of what entities were tested in this episode, which was eventually considered plausible post the test. Okay, so these are the measurement processes. So, they're doing something, and also this should also help. These are fictional entities. So they were being used from 2.5 decades or so. They wanted to make it, so that's why these measurement processes were taking place. Basically, here they're measuring his cheekbones, and here they're taking his images to make something. And also, it involved, Adam and Jamie having several exercises that involved one of them repeat the words of the other just as a learning process. So, what could this be? I think it is exactly 2.5 decades from now. It started being visible from 2.5 decades from now, but I'm not entirely sure. But these are fictional, and a lot of people would have seen it if they've seen the context. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. So, question number 19. So, this about 50-year-old myth that is a few years more than 50 years old myth was put into test by the pair of mythbusters. One of the supposed proofs for the myth was an image where a certain person was well lit despite being in a shadow at a place that had only one single source of light, with supporters claiming that there was a secondary light source such as a film light. Therefore, to really test the authenticity, Adam and Jamie recreated the same using a scaled model involving a single lamp and a mixture of Portland cement and charcoal powder, which, according to scientific experiments, were similar aesthetically and with respect to reflectivity of the surface that was seen in the original image. It turned out that the scale model of the person had a similar level of illumination due to the surface reflectivity, thus proving the myth to be busted. So, what myth was tested here? See that it is a few years more than 50 years old, the myth, this particular myth, and there was supposed to be only one source of light and somebody was in the shadow. So, the photo is not very famous, but the context in which this photo was taken is very famous, pretty famous. And yeah, so he was in a shadow, this person, but there is only one single source of light. So they thought, okay, why is he so bright in the image? But that turned out to be a reflectivity feature of the surface that was seen in that image, and they tried to recreate the surface using some other material, and they saw similar results. So, what was this myth that was tested here? stay on this question for like 15 seconds, and then we can move on to the last one of this round. Okay, so I'll move on to the last question of this round. So Adam and Jamie tested a myth believed to be true according to certain boards visible in certain establishments. So there are some boards that you see in a lot of establishments, even in India. So while testing the myth, Adam calls a mobile phone situated in a chamber containing some volatile organic compounds in the air and jokingly says, "Hello, explosion." He never answers his phone in a light-hearted way to convey that the myth was busted. Busted as in it was proved that it was not true. So, however, there was an alternative theory to what might be the real cause of whatever happened. This was attributed to people getting in and out of their cars during the time they do a related activity. This was believed to generate an electrostatic charge due to the rubbing of their clothes with the car seat, and thus resulting in the catastrophe. The alternative theory was ultimately regarded plausible through a test. So, what myth was tested in this episode? So, this is only in US where they get in and out of their cars and their clothes getting rubbed against the car seat, the material of the car seat. But in India, you don't see that. In India, there is a specific person to do whatever task these people in US are doing. But volatile organic compounds and volatile organic compounds and there's an explosion. He calls a phone and there was no explosion. So what could this myth be? Something that you would have seen, you know uh, something that you would have seen common in India. These boards in India also it's common, in US also it's pretty common, but whatever is said in that board, it's not true. And see that a car is also being used. So what kind of establishments this could be, and thus it could lead to what myth was tested here. Okay, so this is about it. I'll move on to the next round. This is the final round. I'll go a bit quicker because we are lagging behind in time a little bit. So the last round is basically the same as the name of the quiz. So not at your wits end. And the theme in this round is that at least one part of your answer, one part of each question is will contain the letters VIT. It can be in the same word. So say you have two particular words. So all the letters VIT can be the same word or it can be scattered across the two words, right? So that is about this round. So we'll move on to the first question. So, an Australian based NGO specializing in treating blindness and other vision problems decided to expand to impoverished areas in Oceania in the early 2010s to treat people who could not afford the usual prices for the vision treatments. Thus, for the expansion, they decided to aptly have a fellow Oceanian, X, as their ambassador. X even visited Fiji to support the patients mentally before and after their treatments provided by this NGO. This move was apt because X himself suffers from severe astigmatism, due to which we all oddly have never seen him without something. And X acquired an apt nickname back in the early 2000s when he was just emerging because of his look reminding people of someone else who was also becoming an emerging name back then and will also come back to the limelight at the very beginning of next year. So two parts here, IDX and what was this nickname of his. So the first part will fit into the theme. The second part doesn't fit into the theme, but Pretty workoutable question, if you grasp the right facts. No, this is only a single round, single written round. So, fellow Oceanian, he had astigmatism, because of which we have all seen him, never seen him without something. And then he acquired a NAP nickname because of his look, and also because he was emerging back in the early 2000s, similar to this person. And this person is also coming back to the limelight at the beginning of very beginning of next year. So, what could these two parts be? The first part goes into the correct. Moving on to question number 22. So early this year, a Chinese drone company, in collaboration with a university, set the Guinness World Record for the longest animation performed by unmanned aerial vehicles using LEDs on the drones. So the drone animation paid tribute to which 19th century figure? That is the first part. And the second part is, what two-word nickname did Guinness World Records aptly give to this display? So here the first part goes into the correct, and nothing much in the question to help you with the answer, but these are the images. So this is one image, right? So using LED drones, they made this display. And here is actually a more helpful image of who this person could be. This is a crop image, but still, I think whatever you see, this image should probably help. This one as well, but more importantly, this. So VIT not necessarily in order. It can be scattered or it can be the same word, but most of the answers will not have VIT in sequence. Actually, no answer has VIT in sequence, I think. But yeah, so it can or cannot be in sequence. So it can be scattered. Say for example, say Virat Kohli, right? So don't worry, that's not one of the answers, but it you have VI and T, so something like that. Okay, so in this there is no pun involved. There is it's a direct two word nickname. Yeah, question nothing much important. So two parts. Who did it pay tribute to? Which 19th century figure? And what two word nickname did this Guinness World Record aptly give to this display? So I'll move on a bit quickly. Question number 23. So in 2006, to mark the 500th anniversary of the formation of it, a march on foot traversing about 700 kilometers, consisting 80 of its former members, was held. The route taken for the march was the exact same as the first members of it took when they were summoned to a location about 700 kilometers south of the starting point, which was a fortress situated at the foothills of the south facing alpine slopes. So the 500th anniversary of which colorful group of people was celebrated in this manner. So basically, the fortress was the starting point. Okay, that is situated in the south-facing alpine slopes. But they were summoned to a location 700 kilometers south of this fortress. So colorful group of people. So the official name of this group of people doesn't contain the letters VIT, but you need to find a particular keyword, related keyword that contains the letters VIT. So think of 700 kilometers of starting point, which is a fortress at south facing alpine slopes. Where could this ending point be? Starting point was a fortress in the alpine slopes, and from that you can try and see that it is a march, not a walk, it is a march. So that could also help you with what who these group of people are. Colorful group of people as well. Move on to the penultimate question of this quiz. So these makeshift photo studios of the on the streets close to these famous landmarks of the same city were specialized in a specific type of photography. They were one of the only shops in the locality which were open around the clock, along with barber shops and wood sellers on the same streets. Photos of children and youths were free of cost, and the photographers ate lunch after a few minutes after their work to get some fresh air. So the photo studios only came up in 2000 after a major flaw was discovered in the previous system of clerks, with them being given bribe easily by greedy families. So two parts here. What specialization of photography is this? Probably you could explain it in a few words. And the second part, where were these photo studios located close to? Like which landmarks that I'm talking about? So there is a helpful image, I would say. So these are paths that lead to these famous landmarks, right? So they were see that in the same, along with these photo studios, even barber shops and wood sellers were open around the clock, and they wanted to get some fresh air after they they click photos of something. So what they click photos of is the first part, and where were these, like what landmarks am I talking about is the second part. They're in the same city, so obviously it's in India. That should help you with that should narrow down the answer for the second part. So the second part goes into the correct, and here the letters are scattered across words, right? So there can be possibly multiple names for these landmarks, but most famously is probably what I want in your answer, which contain the letters VIT. So I'll move on to the last question of this quiz. So back in the mid 19th century, the Empress of France was a traveler regularly shifting between palatial residences of the time. So thus packing of her voluminous outfits and fragile jewelry needed some skill and expertise. This is when she got in touch with a consultant to find the appropriate design of the baggage needed for packing such items, and also literally laying down a layout of how to pack them. This partnership resulted in skyrocketing the consultant's career to nationwide fame a few years later. So, who was this consultant whose name is now immortalized famously and is probably globally famous around the world? Okay, I'll stay on this question, and we'll have after this we'll have a quick cycle back. Won't spend probably more than 5 minutes just to get your numbering right. Okay, so I'll quickly cycle back. So this is question number 25. You just need to give me the name of this consultant who who helped in the packing and even design of the baggage required for the Empress of France's costumes and jewelry and all that. So this is the question number 25. Question number 24. So here they're in a particular city, right? These landmarks and photographers. There are some photographers who take photos of something. Barber shops and wood sellers are on the same streets, and they get fresh air after their work. So two parts. What specialization of photography? Where were these photo studios located close to? I'll just take few seconds on this image, which should help you a little bit. Probably the people that you see around should also help. Okay. Question number 23. So, which colorful group of people am I talking about? They had a march from somewhere in the Southern Alps to a location 700 kilometers south. Which group of people are these? And official name doesn't contain the letters VIT, but probably you should tell a keyword that contains these letters. Question number 22. See these images and tell me two parts here again. Who did this? Who was paid tribute by this drone performance, and what was the two-word nickname? Question number 21. Who was this fellow Oceanian who had astigmatism? He did. He was never seen without something. And also, what was this nickname of his? Named after someone else. Question number 20. Question number 20. So they tested a certain myth. They tried calling a mobile phone, but there was apparently no explosion. And then also cars getting in and out. So what myth was this that you see on boards in certain establishments today? Question number 19. What myth was tested here? Around little more than 50-year-old myth. Question number 18. So what plausibility of which fictional entities are being tested here? Some images, they're taking some facial measurements and also learning each other's speaking mannerisms. So what entities these could be? Question number 17. What was this entity in question? So basically they wanted to mask the noise. So basically they wanted to make some other noise to mask the noise of the work that was going on towards the escape. And then they use the same thing to pump air by hand. So what was this entity? I'll just quickly go to question number 24. What specialization of photography? That's one part. And where were these photo studios located close to? Which landmarks? Second part goes into the current. Question number 16. So there was some theory related to related to the coatings being more responsible than the hydrogen, and they tested it using scale models. So which events, causes were being tested here? Question number 15. What was this mixture of wax and white plastic used for 3 decades ago, and in the context of which becomes popular every winter? Question number 14. So, what is the singular unique difference of this branch of McDonald's? The only one difference, and that is unique. There's no transport access, but they support a feature of the resort. Question number 13. So, what entity am I talking about, which the tribe calls Kechu? And, it is seen, probably seen in their daily lives and named after a Britisher whose surname is a combination of father's and mother's surnames. Question number 12. What is special about these letters addressed to this postal code? And what is the apt numerically stylized postal code? Question number 11. So, a particular Luger, in the Winter Olympics, wanted to celebrate his second place, but he faced a dental problem while celebrating. So, in what unusual way did he get this problem? Question number 10. So, what was this sandstone pit consumed for in the end of 18th century? Question number 9. So, which song was aptly played just before the launch of this spacecraft? They wanted to say that Americans are returning to the darkness of space in style. So, which song did they aptly play? Question number 8. Two parts. What were the yellow fleet the victims of? Why were they called so and what caused it? Second part, I need both answers for half a point, basically 5 points. Why were they called as the yellow fleet and what caused whatever was the reason they were called yellow fleet? Question number 7. What was this Indian classical singer's most famous work used for? It was only 2 lines. People thought there was a full-fledged version, but it's only 2 lines, and it was used in the creative context. So, what was it used for? Question number 6. 2 parts. Which pair from the West is commonly compared with this pair? And the looks of what were inspired by the illustration of the girl. And that came to fame in the second half of 2021 and became an unintentional social media sensation. Question number 5. So, 2 parts here. Which place am I talking about? Or you can also tell me what was its claim to fame and what apt nickname did the author give to the aforementioned ship. Question number 4. Where is this marathon race held? Along with the name of the UNESCO World Heritage Site, I also want you to tell me, probably an additional adjective to describe the situation of the place whenever this marathon is held. This, by the way, could also fit into one of the other rounds in this quiz, one of the other themed rounds. Question number 3. What sizzling example of Gothic architecture am I talking about? And take a hunch as to what caused the major renovation projects of it to be kickstarted. Question number 2. So, I've given you some chemical reactions that eventually formed green and blue hydrated salts. And what was the world famous result of these chemical reactions? You have seen it at only one place, but it's still pretty world famous. So what is this? And question number 1. Which site is this which provided inspiration behind the aesthetics of this fictional site? Somewhere in India. Also, the first question of the quiz, for VIT Pune. So, which site could this be? Question number 6. Which pair from the West is commonly compared with this pair? Last 2 minutes, I can accept a few requests, but after that we'll be closing forms because we are overdue on time and we need to discuss the answers as well. Okay. Are there any requests that you see? Okay, I think I will close the. Yeah. Do you see any
Hello.
other? Yeah. Do you see any other requests?
There is a question for request, but I think this will be our last request. We won't be taking any request
Okay.
after this.
Okay. Yeah. I think we can close the form then. after this. I'll give a countdown before that. Then we can close forms.
Tejas, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We will tell you about about details, like about the details after this. You just follow our. I think in the description there is a link of the Instagram account. So we'll like stay tuned to our channel.
Okay, so I will be there'll be a countdown now that will be starting right now. So please submit your answer sheets.
So you have around 1 minute. So no, 30 seconds. So your time starts now. In 30 seconds, the answer sheet will be closed. So quickly submit them.
And please stay back. We'll quickly discuss the answers as well. There is no final round, but yeah, this was just a written quiz, just a fun written quiz. Okay, you can just give a countdown before closing.
All right. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The answer sheets are closed.
Okay, let me just come back in just a minute. Just stop sharing my screen and go to.
You can cool. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Whoever have not submitted, please do submit it. I think it's closed though, right?
Yes, it's closed.
Okay. We will start discussing the answers in a few moments. Just give me a sec. So now you can, put the answers on the chat. Okay. Are we good to go?
Yeah, cool. Absolutely cool.
Okay. So, guys, you can put your answers up on the chat. Let me just share my screen. Yeah. Okay. So we'll discuss the answers. So yeah, question number one. So which site is this? Closer back to home. Just let me know if there are any comments. Yeah, Ellora Caves is right, as a lot of people have got it. So this is indeed Ellora Caves. Question number two. What was the world famous result of these chemical reactions? Don't see any answers yet. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the statue of the color of Statue of Liberty. So any reference to color of Statue of Liberty will get you 10 full points. Yeah, that's right. So question number three, two parts. What sizzling example of Gothic architecture are we talking about? And take a hunch as to what caused the major renovation project. No answers yet. Notre Dame is right. And yeah, as someone has said, it is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. So there was a subtle clue there. Take a hunch as to what caused the major renovation. So this is Notre Dame indeed, and Hunchback of Notre Dame is what caused renovation projects of Notre Dame to go ahead. So question number four: what is the venue of this marathon? Perfect answer there. So this is indeed Frozen Lake Baikal. So basically, they walk on the frozen lake. So sorry, run on the frozen lake. Lake Baikal will probably get a 5. We will see. We will see. Question number 5. Which place am I talking about, or what was this claim to fame, and what apt nickname did the author give to the aforementioned ship? So, record is basically it is I think the largest freshwater lake in the world. Robin Island is right, as someone has said. And what was the apt nickname that author gave to the ship? It is indeed Noah's Ark. So this is Robin Island. So basically, here I blanked Iron Robin, who missed this chance actually. And this is during the 2010 FIFA World Cup final in South Africa. So that should have helped with the first part. And of course, second part is Noah's Ark because they were transporting animals. Question number 6: which pair from the West and the looks of what inspired the illustration of the girl? No answers yet for question number 6. It's not Hansel and Gretel. Squid Game, but what exactly? There has to be a color connect. It's not exactly. Okay, Jack and Jill is right for the first part. And someone says Vicky Kaushal and Katrina Kaif. Okay, so I think I will give points if you give a reference to the doll. So basically, what I wanted is red light, green light doll in Squid Game. And of course, the first part is Jack and Jill. Question number 7: what was this person's arguably most famous work used for? Imperial Blue is right. So basically, these are men will be Menards from Imperial Blue. So basically, प्यार की राह में चलना सीख. So that was to learn in the path to learn to travel in the path of love. That was the clue there. Question number 8: what were the yellow fleet the victims of, and why were they called so, and what caused it? Yep, this is the Suez block, of course. And why were they called the Yellow Fleet, and what caused that? Not Vesuvius explosion, not jaundice. Tanning, but tanning is not exactly correct. But yes, you got that their skin was yellow. Correct. So someone has said it is from the sand of the desert. So they stayed so long in Suez Canal that the sand around the place just coated their skin, and thus their skin became yellow. Moving on, question number 9: which electric song was aptly played just before the launch of the spacecraft? Thank you. Back in Black is absolutely right. So basically, darkness of space, they return to the darkness of space. So back in Black. And of course, ACDC, electric being a reference to ACDC here. And that is how they got their name, in fact, named after alternative current and direct current. Question number 10. So, what was the pit consumed for in the end of 18th century? Yeah, absolutely right. So, it was used to build the White House the presidential residence the of US. Not Yellowstone. White House construction is absolutely right. Moving on, question number 11. What unusual way did he get this problem? Absolutely right. So he did bite the metal too hard while posing for photographers, and that is how we encountered this. So nothing related to cold, as I said. As I said during the question that it was not related to cold weather, but if you've written he bit the metal, then that should fetch you 10 points. Next question. What is special about these letters and what is the apt? Okay, people have given, there is one particular answer that is right for the postal code, and of course these are letters to Santa. A lot of people have got it. These are letters addressed to Santa Claus, and the postal code being head zero, head zero, head zero, basically ho ho ho, the typical catchphrase of Santa Claus. So moving on to question number 13. So what entity am I talking about? K2 is absolutely right. So K2 is basically Mount K2, or also called as Mount Godwin Austen. Next question, question number 14. Thank you for the compliments. Just give me a few seconds, I'll be back. Yeah, as a lot of people have got it, this is indeed ski through instead of a drive through. Correct, even accessible by skiing or sleds. Correct. Question number 15. What was the mixture's original intended purpose? Fake snow, but for what? Not for die hard. Not exactly what I'm looking for with fake snow for Christmas time. Yeah, but I think one of them has got it. So this is fake snow that was used for Home Alone. So Home Alone shooting was in Chicago itself. So that is when they use this mixture for Home Alone. So moving on to question number 16. Theory behind the cause of which event was tested here? Hindenburg is absolutely right. So basically these are the shapes of zeppelins. They constructed scaled models of zeppelins, and this is how they tested if hydrogen was responsible or not. Question number 17. What is the entity in question? Probably the toughest question in this quiz. But Absolutely phenomenal if someone has got it right. Not a vacuum cleaner. Flutes is somewhat on the right track. Perfect answer there. So this is basically playing the accordion, or if you've written even harmonium or concertina, I will give you points for that. So basically, they use accordion to pump. So I also clarified it is pumping through by hand, using the hand and not through mouth, and that's how you could have ruled out options like trumpet or flute or something. So accordion is absolutely right. Question number 18. Plausibility of what were tested here. Mission Impossible face masks is absolutely right. Basically, the face masks that everyone wears to guise as someone else in the franchise Mission Impossible. That should lead you to is the actual answer. Question number 19. What myth was tested here? I wish that I was Tom Cruise underneath. Moon landing is absolutely right. So the myth was basically that moon landings were fake, and the Mythbusters disproved this myth. So basically, they said that moon landings were actually real. Someone has already given the answer for the next one. So this is in fact mobile phones in petrol bunks leading to explosions. So basically, the Mythbusters proved this as a myth, and the actual reason was, in US people have to refuel their cars themselves, and they get in and out of the car during this period, and that's why they rub their clothes against the seats, and that's how it provides an electrostatic charge and then leads to an explosion apparently. Question number 21. IDX, and what was this name of his? Yeah, Daniel Vettori is absolutely right, and Harry Potter. So you got it perfectly right. So this is Daniel Vettori, the one of the cricketers who you never see without his spectacles, and of course the answer is Harry Potter. Into the limelight at the beginning of very beginning of next year, being the reunion episode or whatever you call it. Question number 22. Drone, who was paid tribute here, and what two-word nickname was aptly given to this display? Van Gogh and Starry Night is absolutely right. As simple as that. So this was Van Gogh. So this was basically a tribute to his sunflowers set of paintings, and this is of course Starry Night. And the nickname itself was Starry Night, that was given by Guinness World Records. Not Starry Lights. I said there is no pun involved. Question number 23. So which group of people are these? Vatican, but what exactly? They are related to Vatican City. Nice guess with Rainbow Revolution, but unfortunately that's not the answer. So someone has answered here. This is in fact, the Swiss Guard marched to the Vatican. So basically, the Pope has guards who are called the Swiss Guards. They're originally from Switzerland, and they are basically the army of the Vatican City. So this is in fact Swiss guard, but I wanted some reference to Vatican as well for full 10 points because it fits into the VIT theme. Penultimate question. So what specialization of photography was this, and where were these photo studios located close to? Varanasi Ghats is absolutely right, but not underwater photography. Photographing corpses is absolutely right. So basically, these people take photos of corpses, and of course, there's Ghats of Varanasi. And as you can see, so basically, what used to happen before was greedy families would, say that some family member of their family was dead, and thus they would, get some kind of corrupt proof of their death to get their uh, belongings. So thus, this is corpse photography and guards of Varanasi. And the last question: who was this consultant? Louis Vuitton is absolutely right. So of course, now there's a very famous company that is named after him, but he used to be he used to just make all these briefcases of sorts before, and was also helpful in packing the briefcases of the Empress of France. So that's it. This is the quiz is done. I hope you all had a great time. Also, yeah, I pretty much open to feedback. There must be some section in the form that asks for feedback of the quiz. So please do fill it out. And if you want me to host any quizzes for your institutions or something of that sort, you could always contact me with this using this number, or also alternatively using my email ID. But I'll be more I can you can reach out to me more regularly using WhatsApp. So yeah, thanks a lot to QSOC VIT as well, to give me this opportunity of hosting this quiz. And
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this quiz. It was a really great set. Like, really thank.
yeah, thank you. And really great job, guys. I saw a lot of answers, enthusiastic answers around. So really great job in cracking all these questions in a very witty way, witty with a pun of VIT in it. So yeah, that's we come to the end of the quiz. Thank you all for joining in, and if you want to share this quiz with some of your friends who are interested in quizzing as well, please do send this out to them. Also, please do follow QSOC VIT. They're coming up with really good content throughout the year on Instagram. So do follow their Instagram page. Probably the link is in the description. Yeah. Yeah, I think accordion one should have had a few hints, but couldn't figure out what kind of it I would have given. But thank you guys for the compliments. Really, it means a lot to me. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Rithwik. Again, thanks a lot. Like
Yeah.
all the
Oh,
questions were really great. Like
thank
really
you.
witty. Like the VIT type witty, as you said in the title.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
cool, cool, cool. Thanks again, and we really appreciate you making a set for us.
Yeah. No problem. I think we can end this stream right now, right?
Yes, yes, we can, we can. Thanks for joining all. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow our Instagram page. Thanks
Yeah.
a lot.
Before that, I think I will send the set over. But I'll post it on SlideShare and probably share the link to someone in the queues of VIT. They you can later view it, but it'll take a few days. But yeah, okay. I think we can end the stream now, right?
Yes, yes, we'll end the stream. Thanks a lot all for
Okay,
joining. Bye bye. Good night.
okay. Bye. Good night, and have a safe time, right? Because COVID cases are rising again. So stay
There's a
home
way.
and stay safe. Right. Okay. Yeah. Bye.
Cool then. Now I'll be ending the broadcast.